Hey everyone, welcome back. We're diving into a world of Roman legions and Celtic warriors today.
Oh, sounds intense.
It is. We're tackling John Fletcher's Bonduca, a play set in Roman-occupied Britain.
Oh, Bonduca. Now that one's a wild ride.
It really is, and we've got a whole stack of sources here to help us break it down.
Awesome. You know, what always strikes me about Bonduca is how it throws you right into this clash of cultures.
Yeah.
You've got the Romans, this mighty empire trying to impose its will.
Right.
And then you have the Britons, these fierce tribes fighting tooth and nail for their freedom.
It's like, where do you even begin to unpack all that tension?
Well, I think a good place to start is with the characters, because they're not just these cardboard cutouts.
Right.
You know, good guys versus bad guys.
Yeah.
They're complex.
Oh, they are.
They've got layers.
Baked onions.
Haha, exactly.
Yeah.
Take Queen Bonduca, for example.
Oh, she's a force of nature.
She is. She's the leader of the Iceni tribe, and she's absolutely determined to drive those Romans out,
No matter the cost.
no matter the cost. Early on in the play, she calls the Romans the rust of arms, the blushing shame of soldiers.
Ooh, you can practically hear the war drums in her words.
Right. And that fiery spirit, it just radiates from her every word and action.
But then you have her cousin Karatak.
Ah, Karatak, now he's a fascinating character.
He is. He's like this seasoned warrior, been through countless battles.
Right, and he's definitely against the Roman occupation.
Yeah.
But there's this like grudging respect he seems to have for them.
Almost like he admires their strength.
Exactly. There's this line where he's describing swimming across a river at night with Roman stars shooting at him.
I remember that. It's like he finds a strange kind of beauty in the danger, even if it's coming from his enemy.
And that's what makes him so complex.
Yeah?
You know,
Yeah.
It's not just admiration for their fighting skills, it's deeper than that.
So what is it about Karatak then? What makes him tick?
Well, he seems to see war as this ultimate test, you know, a test of character, of honor. He even says at one point, I love an enemy, I was born a soldier. It really makes you think, doesn't it? About what it means to be a hero in a situation like that.
Right. Like, is it even possible to be a hero when your homeland is occupied by a foreign power?
Exactly. And how do you balance that with recognizing the strengths, even the virtues of your enemy?
It's like that saying, keep your friends close and your enemies closer, but with way higher stakes.
Haha, exactly. And Bonduca really forces us to confront those complexities head on.
You know, one thing that struck me about Karatak is how he acts as this kind of counterbalance to Bonduca's impulsiveness.
Oh, absolutely. He's much more cautious, more strategic.
Yeah, there's that scene where Bonduca is boasting about their victories, getting a little carried away.
And Karatak steps in with a bit of wisdom, right?
He does. He says something like, a candle burns too bright a sacrifice.
It's like he's warning her about the dangers of getting too confident, too arrogant.
Like, don't celebrate too early.
Yeah. True strength lies in staying grounded, even when you're surrounded by chaos.
Especially when you're surrounded by chaos.
Which, let's be honest, is pretty much the defining characteristic of war, isn't it?
And speaking of chaos, we can't forget about the historical context here.
Right. We're talking about Roman-Briton.
A time when this mighty empire clashed head-on with these, incredibly fierce Celtic tribes.
And let's not forget about the Druids.
Oh, yes.
Even though we don't actually see them on stage, their presence looms large over the play.
It's like they represent this ancient power, this deep connection to the land.
Exactly. They're the spiritual leaders, the keepers of ancient wisdom and tradition.
And when Bonduca invokes their power, talking about them composing songs of everlasting life to victory.
It adds this whole other dimension to the Britons' resistance.
Yeah, it becomes more than just a fight for land.
It's a fight for their very identity, their way of life.
It's almost like a sacred struggle.
In a way, it is. And that sense of desperation, that feeling that everything is at stake, it permeates the entire play.
Oh, absolutely. And it leads to some incredible moments of heroism, like when Karatak rescues his young nephew Hengo from the heat of battle.
Oh, that scene is so powerful.
It really shows his bravery, but also his deep sense of loyalty to family.
And it makes his later actions, his choices, all the more thought-provoking.
For a play set amidst the brutality of war, Bonduca also has these surprisingly funny moments.
It does. It's not all doom and gloom.
Definitely not. Like the dynamic between the Roman captains Junius and Petilius.
Oh, those two.
They're hilarious.
Petilius is such a master of comic relief. He's always teasing Junius, especially about being head over heels in love.
Right. Like in that scene where Petilius finds Junius longing for a drink.
He says, "Did I not find thee gaping like an oyster for a new tide?"
I love that line. It's so unexpected in a play about war and conquest.
It is. But it also serves as this reminder that even in the darkest of times,
Yeah.
people still find ways to laugh, to connect with each other.
To be human.
Exactly.
But then, on a more serious note, there's this tragic figure of Peneus, another Roman captain.
Peneus. Now, he's a cautionary tale if there ever was one.
A cautionary tale
About pride.
Oh, right.
He's a skilled soldier, incredibly brave, but also incredibly stubborn.
Stubborn how?
Well, he disobeys a direct order from his general.
Why would he do that?
He thinks he knows better.
Oh,
And it leads to disastrous consequences for his men.
no. Oh, that's rough.
It is. And it just eats him up inside. He's consumed by guilt and despair.
There's that heartbreaking line where he calls himself a coward and says,
No.
"Oh, my good sword, break from my side and kill me. Cut out the coward from my heart."
It's tragic.
It is. And even though Petilius tries to comfort him,
Yeah, Petilius is usually all jokes and lightheartedness.
Very
He
deep.
tries to reach out.
but
Peneus just can't forgive himself.
oh, wow.
He sees suicide as the only way to atone for his mistake.
It's like he's trapped in his own self-loathing.
Exactly. And it's a stark reminder of the heavy price of pride.
Especially in a world where honor and duty are everything.
It really sets the stage for the final confrontation, doesn't it?
Between the Romans and Bonduca's forces.
Yeah. The stakes couldn't be higher.
And that question of honor, it just hangs over everything.
Like a sword dangling by a thread.
I like that.
Yeah.
Haha. All right, so we're back, and things are not looking great for Bonduca and her forces.
No, not really. They're facing a pretty powerful Roman army.
And Bonduca's, let's say, her impulsive nature
Hasn't helped.
hasn't exactly led to the best strategic decisions.
And to top it all off, her daughters.
Yeah.
They're captured.
Oh, right.
And the Romans are holding them hostage.
Talk about adding fuel to the fire.
Right. It's a classic power play. Using those daughters as leverage to try and force Bonduca's hand.
But then Karatak, our complex warrior with his own code of honor,
Yeah.
kind of throws a wrench into everything.
Oh, he does. He finds out that his nieces used some trickery to capture the Roman leaders.
He's not happy about it.
Not one bit. He calls it a woman's wisdom,
Which for him is...
not a compliment. He sees it as dishonorable.
So what does he do?
Well, he does something pretty unexpected.
What's that?
He frees the Roman prisoners.
Whoa, hold on. What?
Yeah, he just lets them go.
But why? Why would he do that?
It all comes back to his sense of honor.
Right.
He's willing to risk his own side's victory,
Wow.
just so that the fight is fair.
It's like he's playing by a whole different set of rules.
He is. He's not just fighting for land, or power, or even for his people.
He's fighting for something bigger.
Exactly. He's fighting for an ideal
An ideal
of honor, of a world where even enemies can respect each other.
That's pretty powerful stuff.
It is,
Yeah.
and it really makes you question
What?
truly makes a hero in a world like that.
Right. Like, is it blind loyalty? Or is it something more? Something like Karatak's unwavering commitment to his own code of conduct?
It's like, are there different types of heroism?
Or is there a point where sticking to your principles no matter what actually becomes detrimental?
Those are the kind of questions that Bonduca forces us to grapple with.
And there are no easy answers.
No, there really aren't.
Speaking of complex characters, remember Junius, the Roman captain who's head over heels in love?
Oh, yeah. Julian.
His story adds another layer to this whole thing about honor and loyalty.
It does, because he's in love with one of Bonduca's daughters.
Whoa, talk about a forbidden romance.
Right. It puts him in a really tough spot.
Because on one hand, he's a Roman soldier,
Sworn to uphold the empire,
and on the other hand, he's drawn to this woman.
who represents everything he's supposed to be fighting against.
It's almost like Romeo and Juliet, but with swords and chariots instead of poison and daggers.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
Yeah.
And just like in Shakespeare's play, this forbidden love really highlights the human cost of war.
Yeah, it's like a reminder that even amidst all the violence and chaos,
There's still room for love, connection, compassion even,
it's like Bonduca is constantly throwing these curveballs at you.
making you question everything you thought you knew.
Oh, for sure. And speaking of curveballs, there's that incredibly powerful scene where Karatak and Hengo come across Peneus's funeral procession.
Oh yeah, Peneus. The Roman captain who took his own life after disobeying orders.
Right. What's the significance of that scene? Why focus on Peneus's funeral?
Well, I think it's partly to show that even though Karatak is this fierce warrior fighting the Romans.
He's not a monster.
Exactly. He's still capable of empathy.
Like, he sees Peneus as a worthy opponent, even in death.
Yeah. He even calls him a hallowed relic, thou rich diamond cut with thine own dust.
Wow, that's beautiful. And kind of sad.
It is. It's a reminder that even in war, there's room for respect and even admiration for the enemy.
So even though they were on opposite sides...
The Aratak recognizes Peneus' courage and integrity.
And that's what true honor is all about.
Right. It's not just about winning or losing. It's about something more.
It's about staying true to your values, even when it's hard.
And then just when you think things can't get any more emotionally charged,
what happens?
tragedy strikes again.
Oh no, don't tell me.
It's Hengo.
Hengo. Caratak's nephew.
Yeah, the one he saved from the battle earlier.
He's killed.
Yeah, a Roman soldier kills him. It's a devastating blow for Caratak.
Oh wow, I bet.
It really is. And it pushes him to make a momentous decision.
What's that?
He decides to surrender to the Romans.
Surrender. But why?
He sees further resistance as futile, and he'd rather be taken prisoner than die a meaningless death.
So the play doesn't end with a big battle.
No, it doesn't.
It ends with surrender.
It does.
Wow, that's unexpected.
Yeah, and kind of thought-provoking.
Right, it makes you question what it really means to win or lose in a war like this.
And what the true cost of war really is.
Exactly. Bonduca doesn't give us any easy answers. It just leaves us with a whole lot to think about.
Wow, so here we are at the end of our deep dive into Bonduca, and I don't know, I'm just kind of blown away by it all. Yeah, it really packs a punch, doesn't it?
It does. It's got war, it's got love, it's got honor, grief, even some humor sprinkled in there.
It's a real roller coaster.
It is. And it all comes together in this way that just makes you think, you know? Like, really think about these big questions.
It definitely doesn't shy away from the tough stuff.
No, it doesn't. It throws you right into the heart of this conflict and forces you to confront those messy realities.
It's like there's no escaping the human cost of it all.
Exactly. And the characters are not just these, one-dimensional figures.
No, they're not.
They're complex, they're flawed, they make mistakes.
Just like real people.
Right, and you find yourself empathizing with them, even the ones who might seem like the enemy.
It's like the play is saying that there's always more to the story than meets the eye.
And that sometimes those lines between good and bad, hero and villain, they get really blurry.
They do. And it makes you wonder, if you were dropped into that world, into Roman-Briton,
Yeah.
what choices would you make? How would you navigate those treacherous waters?
That's a great question. And it actually makes me think of something else.
What's that?
Imagine if we could sit down with John Fletcher, the playwright himself.
Oh, wow, yeah.
What would we ask him about Bonduca? What burning question would you have for him?
Ooh. That's a tough one. There's so much I'd want to pick his brain about.
Yeah, right.
I think I'd want to ask him about those women,
Bonduca and her daughters.
Yeah. They're caught in this world that's dominated by men, by war.
Yeah.
But they still manage to find ways to resist, to assert their own agency.
It's like they're constantly pushing back against those limitations.
They are, and I'd love to know what Fletcher was trying to say about that. What was his message about the power of women in a society like that?
That's a fantastic question. And it makes me think about how, even though Bonduca was written centuries ago,
It still feels so relevant today.
it does. Because those themes, power, resistance, love, loss, they're timeless.
They are, and they resonate with us no matter what time period we're living in.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes Bonduca such a powerful and enduring work of art.
It challenges us to think, to feel, to question everything we thought we knew.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a challenge.
A challenge.
Yeah. Think about what you would ask John Fletcher.
Ooh, I like that.
What question about Bonduca keeps nagging at you? What character or theme left you wanting more?
Let those questions be your guide as you continue exploring this amazing world of literature.
Because there's always something new to discover, always another layer to uncover.
And who knows, maybe someday we'll get to have that conversation with Fletcher himself.
Maybe. But until then, keep those deep dives going and never stop asking those tough questions.
Exactly. And keep listening, because we'll be back with more deep dives into all sorts of fascinating topics.
Until next time,